Today, I'm just here to document what I've learned as a 20-year-old male in the last week or 2 weeks of me having a bunch of events happen in my life, and hopefully it helps other people which are around the same age. But I'm just going to share what I've learned because it has been a couple wild 2 weeks. I'm going to break it up in a couple of different categories. So the first one being partying and going out. Sometimes you do go out and you have a bit of fun with your mates. I'm not saying you need to completely get rid of it, but I'm not saying it's a very productive thing to be doing. I thought that when I went out, everything was going to be fine and everything, and I was just going to snap back into life. Alcohol gives you dopamine. All of that flashing lights, is an escape, and you realize that. The second thing is I got sick after it. So this is the fastest I've actually ever got over a sickness, and I've actually got a method to the madness now rather than just following what my parents told me or what my friends told me. For a bit of context, my immune system has always been absolutely dreadful. I've had my tonsils pulled out, but now I used to get sick, and I used to be sick for like 2 or 3 weeks. The thing that actually changed this time is I had some of this stuff. So when I was sick, I used to just follow this, what your parents told you to do. What I actually worked out is doing my own research of how to become better when you're not sick. It's actually gave me a more systematic way to get over being sick. And specifically, I grabbed the kettle, and then filling your glass up with hot water builds this internal fever. So I don't know what's healthy and what's not, but I found that this was ultimately why I got over my sickness as fast as possible, because I gave myself a fever to burn all the stuff inside of me. I was sweating constantly. I sat in this uncomfortableness of being sick, and in 2 days, it was pretty much gone, all my symptoms. As you get better, if you get to like an 8 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10, you can probably do a little bit of steps just to get the circulation going. A little bit of light recovery does help. Whereas your parents tell you you shouldn't be doing anything, or some people say you should be doing heaps of working out to get rid of it out of your system. I went to the gym today, which is my first session back, and I literally just took it probably 7 out of 10 worth of intensity. If you think about muscle building as like a bucket of water, and there's a hole at the bottom being your recovery, and then the water going in is the stimulus in regards to like training, all you have to do is reduce the amount of stimulus by reducing the amount of water going in the bucket and open the hole wider. So have a more emphasis on recovery rather than building the muscle. You can still build muscle at training 7 out of 10. Having the correct ability to make my fever and actually understand why that makes sense, rather than me just going, yeah, maybe a fever, maybe not. I'm just gonna do what I kind of feel like. Because when you're sick, you don't actually have a very good, clear mind too. So having these systems in place, so when you are sick and you can just fall back on these systems and know that this is the healthiest way to actually get better, is also beneficial in any way, because you're not gonna be able to think clearly when you are sick. Now, the mental side of things when I'm sick was interesting, because normally I would be sick and I was like, yeah, I can just relax. But it was I actually felt this feeling of like, if I'm sitting down, I'm not being productive. If I'm not editing videos, then I'm not being productive. I should be using this time, because ultimately people in your field are going to be better than you if they can harness this time better than you do. So for me, I was watching people on YouTube and I was like, oh my God, I need to be doing more videos, but I can't do videos because my voice is done, and oh my God, I'm falling behind, and blah, blah, blah. And I was going through this kind of spiral of things. And ultimately, I just needed to tell myself, this is time to relax and recover, but you also do need to be doing things which you can do rather than just saying, oh, I'm just going to sit and watch movies all day. So for the first day, I sat and watched movies all day. But the second day, I got my ass off the couch and I started editing my own videos. Doing things which your body actually can do but doesn't want to do was ultimately like a hard thing for me, because you don't want to be doing effort when you're sick. It's easy just to sit there and relax. But a big mindset shift for me was someone telling me, if you sit down and relax, then what happens to the person that actually does the work when they're sick? They're going to be getting closer and closer and ahead of you further and further and further, and your goal is going to be slipping further and further away. If you're tired and you don't want to do that extra 5 minutes of editing, but that other person does that extra 5 minutes of editing, they're going to be ahead of you. So just doing that little bit extra and extra and extra, even though you don't want to do it. I love editing, I love making videos, but ultimately when you're sick, you don't want to do anything. So even just getting up the couch and starting editing, you start almost gaslighting yourself, like, oh, my brain is weak. Oh, I'm too sore to edit. My hands are hurting, my body's hurting. It's like, bro, you're just making excuses for yourself. Simple as that. You can still recover absolutely the exact same amount if you're editing or watching TV. So do something productive. Don't just sit there like a couch slob. Another big thing that I did to try and get over my sickness is just keep eating as much as possible, keep my protein high as much as I can, and eat whole foods, and don't eat anything that's processed. When I was sick before, I would just kind of eat everything. When I was eating more whole foods like fruits, steaks, more red meat, definitely mended my recovery. The easiest way to work out what to do for you is just keep asking ChatGPT. hey, I've got these symptoms, what should I be doing? Oh, it tells you blah, 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 blah. And just keep asking it. Like, use ChatGPT. It's a personal assistant at the end of the day. Rather than researching on Reddit about what to do from 69 Doomslayer, how you can have bull sperm to get over being sick. Just ask ChatGPT and make it easy. Simple as that. My mental health this week was probably not the best it's been. Simple because I was not working out. I'd just been out. So I'd actually, like I said before, I was stimulated a lot and I was like, am I missing out on things? And I just simply didn't really want to do much. I had a lot of work to do. I had a lot of videos. I was falling behind in my videos and my goal that I was trying to keep up with, but we've turned that around and we're back on track for the videos. But my whole mental health side of things, I was just meh. I was not motivated to do anything. Whether that was eating the correct food, I started snacking into more sweet treats and more dopamine-fueled treats. I was having more chocolates and that. As soon as I felt a bit of anxiousness, my body went into like stress coping mechanisms by overeating more, because that dopamine of eating sweet things that you get was almost replacing that feeling of feeling nervous or anxious or whatever you want to call it. Ultimately, my mental health this week has not been 100% great. I haven't really been catching up my mates as much. Very lonely, because that's another thing. Because I've been sleeping in, I haven't been able to see my parents. So I'd wake up and I'd be like, I just don't like being alone when I wake up. I like to have a little bit of companionship. I don't know if it's just me, but I like to have, whether it's someone in the house, it's just even just a good morning if they walk out the door, at least I know there's someone there. So being alone and being sick and being forced to do things like editing and journaling and doing all the habits which I was already doing before when you're sick is just not a fun experience. So my mental health this week was not the best, I would say. But we're back, baby. You understand why you don't feel as good in these times. So you look at, okay, why do I not feel this good? Oh, I was sick, so I'm not going to feel good, obviously. And I didn't work out, and I overslept, and I didn't do all my habits, which I should have been doing. And I fell behind on that. So that's 5 things which I can see which are negative, which means that now that I'm better, I need to start going to the gym. I need to keep doing the habits which I need to be doing. I need to keep eating my good foods. I need to stop overeating. I need to start, waking up early so I can see my parents again, which I did today. Actually having that downtime of kind of shit week, I guess, in my eyes. Whenever I'm feeling bad, I know that if one of these things is happening, I can just, drop that off, and hopefully it makes me feel better internally. The third category is the gym. What did we learn this week in the gym? Well, the first thing is you can push hack squats harder than you actually think. Because I thought on this set, I was gonna die on rep 8, and I think I pushed it to rep 12. Something definitely happened to my adductors. I've always got fucked up adductors. So put a resistance band on when you're training hack squats and focus on keeping the tension rather than letting your legs cave in. And that actually helped my adductors and helped me do the set. So that's something I learned, which I never thought that I'd need to learn. So the next thing I've done since that I've started going back to the gym, which was today, I switched a couple of my exercises around because I simply was less motivated to go to the gym, because I was just like, oh, it's the same routine, I'm a bit bored. And simply, if you have that mindset, you're not gonna be training hard enough, and you're not gonna be enjoying the gym as much. You're not gonna be going there as early as possible. You're gonna want to be putting it off. But one of the biggest things I did was this week is I changed my exercises around. Also, I just came out of a really big deficit of, I lost 10 kilos. So actually falling back into overeating and getting those cravings in and having to go back into a meal plan was such a hard thing for me to do. And I'm still struggling with it, to be honest. My biggest mindset switch is, if hunger is low and your cravings are high, it's simply just a mental thing. So my biggest thing was, I was on my phone at night scrolling, and every single video was a cake recipe, something which I could not eat. And I was ultimately, it was impacting my sleep. It was impacting my ability to stay on track. And ultimately, it was my decision to keep liking those videos. So what my coach said to me was, you don't want to be in a calorie deficit, right? It's not a good thing to do. But you looking at those videos and making that conscious effort to get that dopamine from watching that video and trying to eat that stuff is going to keep you in a calorie deficit for longer. So why are you doing it? You're just being stupid at that point. Simple as that. So what you need to be doing is actually, now that mindset of me actually binge eating, I had a bit of a binge eat. Now I look at those foods, and because I've actually had a bit of a binge, I'm like, you know what? It's probably not worth it. I could withstand. So I'm actually not saying that binge eating is a bad thing. I've never really lost 10 kilos before. So going from losing 10 kilos to putting on 4 kilos in 2 days pretty much, and binge eating is just a learning curve for me, because it means that now when I have those cravings, I've got something to think about. I'll be like, oh, I don't want to put on 4 kilos, and it's also probably not worth it. Instead of watching videos like that on my For You page about, cookies and all this stuff, watch shirtless, shredded guys training to look good for summer, because no food tastes better than having abs this summer. Having this all or nothing mentality, it's just an excuse for you to be like, nah, I don't want to stay on plan. If you actually start thinking about, okay, let's not have this all or nothing mentality, let's just start adding things back in. Let's start tracking my weight a little bit more. Let's start tracking my calories a little bit more, whether they're on plan or not. At least I'm starting to track my calories. I'm getting those habits back in. By the time, you know, you get 2 or 3 weeks back into things, you're back into the swing of things, rather than going, if I'm not starting all or nothing, I'm not doing it. It's just an excuse. Another thing with my diet is, which is such an interesting way to go about these things, pretty much maintenance calories for the whole week, but on one day, which is Tuesday, I fast for an entire day. So I lose 2,400 calories all in one day. Overall in the week, I lose 2,400 calories. So if 1 gram of body fat holds 7,700 calories and I'm losing 2,240 a week, divide that and you pretty much get, I don't know what the maths are, I'll put it on the screen or something, but that's how much body weight I'm gonna be losing per week, even though I'm in a maintenance phase for the majority of the week, which is such a weird thing to do. That's another thing. What's healthy for life and what you actually want to hit your goals with bodybuilding or, you know, your physique wise is 2 different things. If something is harmonious, it's not going to be prioritizing either one. You're just going to have a mutual kind of agreement in both things. You're going to have a mutual amount of brain focus, but you're also not going to have an insane physique. And I could be in a calorie deficit for the whole week, and it can be way more efficient than if I have to eat less every single day and I end up binging. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. But that's pretty much been the updates of the week of what's happened and what's happening in my life as a 20-year-old male. I hope this has helped out if anyone's struggling with any of these issues. I'm still just trying to get better at my life. So just me documenting these things and hopefully helping you guys with any issues that you're having, hopefully helps you. So thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, like, comment, subscribe. Hope you're having an amazing day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.